I'd like to call this meeting to order. Do I have a motion?
I'll move into executive session.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Valadez, seconded by Mr. Villarreal. All those in favor?
Aye.
We're moving into executive session, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We reconvene back into session. At this moment, we are going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. If we can all stand up, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now at this time, we're going to have an invocation from Sister Teresita Rodriguez of the Incarnate Word and Blessed Sacrament. Sister, could you step up to the booth here? Hold him.
Remembering that God is always with us, we pray. To you, O Divine One, from whose hands comes the work of creation, so artfully designed, we pray that this work we are about to do may be done in companionship with you. May the work that we will soon begin sing praise to you as songbirds do. May the work that we will soon begin add to the light of your presence because it is done with great love. May the work that we will soon begin speak like a prophet of old of your dream of beauty and unity. May the work that we will soon begin be a shimmering mirror of your handiwork, in the excellence of its execution, in the joy of doing it for its own sake, in our poverty of ownership over it, in our openness to failure or success, in our invitation to others to share in it, and in bearing fruit for the world. May we be aware that through this work we draw near you. We come to you, beloved, with ready hands. And now I will bless you with the blessing that we find in the books of Hebrews. May the God of peace, who brought up from the dead the great shepherd of the sheep by the blood of the eternal covenant, Jesus our Lord, furnish you with all that is good, that you may do this, that you may do his will. May he carry out in you what is pleasing to him through Jesus Christ, to whom be glory forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you. On that, on the first one? Yeah. Okay, now we move on to items for individual consideration. Number one, the action taken on items discussed in closed meeting. No action was taken other than authorized by law. Number two, General Manager's Report. John
Chair,
Brusiak.
members of the board, the only thing I have is a financial report. Leandro will present that.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Mayor, members of the board. My name is Ruben Lozano. I'm the financial analyst for Brownsville PUB. This evening, I will be presenting on Brownsville PUB's financial performance as of November 30th, 2006. This first slide is a summary of revenue activity. Through November, we have $26.8 million in net operating revenues. When you consider other revenues, interest from investments, and other non-operating income, we're at a total of $28.5 million in gross revenues. To get to adjusted gross revenues, we back out fuel and energy costs, wholesale energy expenses, and our contribution to O&M and debt service for Southmost Regional Water Authority. This leaves us with an adjusted gross revenues of $16.6 million. And this is the basis of calculating the transfer to the city. This next slide provides a summary of Brownsville PUB's obligations. Total O&M and non-operating expenses through November total $6.3 million. Our debt service obligation totals $3.9 million for total requirements of $10.1 million. When you reduce these obligations from the adjusted gross revenues and after reducing COB usage, total available balance to surplus was $5.7 million. And that breakdown is $4.8 million for Brownsville PUB and $916,000 for the city. This next slide provides a summary of the allocation of Brownsville PUB surplus monies. The $4.8 million in surplus available to PUB continues to fund our reserve accounts, our CIP, as well as our improvement fund surplus. These next few graphs will show comparisons between prior year actuals, 2007 budget, and current year actuals. As you can see, we did experience a little bit of revenue loss, but because of lower fuel and energy costs and O&M expenses, our net was positive compared to the budgeted amounts. This next graph provides utility contribution balances to the surplus fund. For electric surplus, it totaled $4.4 million. For the water surplus was $400,000, and wastewater surplus was $870,000. The next three graphs will illustrate consumption for electric, water, and wastewater. The electric consumption through November patterns fiscal year 2006. Overall consumption through November was 6.9 million kilowatt hours, or 3% greater compared to November of 2005. Water and wastewater consumption through November also patterns fiscal year 2006. Overall consumption for water and wastewater through November was down approximately 6% and 5% respectively compared to the same period last year. And lastly, this slide provides an overview of our CIP expenditures by utility and funding source. As of November 30th, year-to-date capital expenditures were $4.3 million. This represents 7.8% in expenditures of the $56 million approved capital spending plan. This concludes the summary.
Leandro, are there any U2 funds from being maybe used from one account to help another account, like capital improvements from one account?
We're gonna go to number 3.
We face this as issue checks, we fund the requirements to issue checks and handle that most of the time we basis.
Okay, but are there any, I think, points of concern that we should know about as far as funding from other funds for capital improvements, to where the U2s, is going to be long-term, not short-term?
No, most of the funding is pretty definite. It's either bond money, or improvement fund money, or grant money, and most of the money is in place to fund current expenditures, to where we don't have to be in a situation where we have receivables due to and due from. Any questions on the other balance of the operating report, check register, or fund summary?
Okay. Thank you. Now we move on to item number, anything else, John? No. Now we move on to item number 3, update on capital improvement projects and funding.
Mr. Amata put this on, and I didn't know what exactly you wanted on that. That's one of the items you requested be on there.
That was it. I just wanted to know if there was any funding.
All right.
Okay, then we move on to item number 4, update on proposed policies, professional services. Mr. Almada also?
That was also, you're going to get back to us on what you're doing?
On the policies for service fees and connection fees and all that, engineering fees, developers, we're ready to sit down and have a workshop, maybe at the next meeting with the board at 4 o'clock for an hour and go through that, let you look at how we compare to other entities. We're pretty well finished with that and ready to bring it to the board.
And you're going to give us something beforehand so we can look at before we come
We'll
to
get it
work?
to you a week or 2 before.
Okay.
Okay. We now move to item number 5, consideration and approval of recommendation of the City Commission to amend ordinance number 2005-983-Z which modifies the current water and wastewater rate structure.
I make the motion to approve as recommended.
Okay, motion to approve by Mr. Amada, seconded by Mr. Valadez. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Item number 6, consideration and approval to amend the fiscal year 2007 capital improvement plan budget. Mr. Leandro Garcia.
Yes, what we're bringing forward here is an adjustment to our CIP plan. We do have a related item to this in the consent agenda, where we're calling for your authorization to approve $1.1 million in electric capital requirements for a 69 to 138 conversion transformers. We do have the funding available in the improvement surplus. What we're doing with this is amending the electric piece of the capital budget by allocating surplus monies from our improvement fund. So we recommend the adjustment to our CIP budget. A total of $1,160,560. Any questions?
Well, I make a motion, we accept the recommendation and approve it.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Guerra
A second.
and second by Mr. Villarreal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 7, consideration and approval to purchase one truck mounted with an IBAK sewer inspection camera system. Mr. Garcia?
Yes, this item, I request your authorization to expend $143,903.58. Two components to this item. $117,295.22 will provide us with a buy board and the camera system to be provided by Kenlock Equipment and Supply. This is equipment that is required to televise sewer lines to assess their condition and as they experience problems with our sewer lines. The second piece is $26,608, which is will provide for the actual vehicle piece, the chassis, from Hanna Chevrolet in Austin for a combined total of $143,903.58. Both vendors are on the state contract, and our recommendation is we're seeking authorization to proceed with this purchase.
So move.
Motion made by Mr. Pat Amada,
A second.
second by Mr. Guerra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item number 8, consideration and approval of a resolution to approve an agreement with the Oklahoma Municipal Power Authority regarding acquisition of American Electric Power / Texas Central Company's ownership interest in the Oklahoma Union Unit Number 1 coal-fired generation plant. Mr. Brusiak.
Now, Mr. Chair, members of the board, this we discussed, and we need a motion to approve that.
I make a motion, we approve a recommendation to the city commission that they approve the settlement agreement negotiated by management.
Motion made by Mr. Guerra,
Second.
second by Mr. Villarreal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 9, consideration and approval of appointment of board member to the Southmost Regional Water Authority.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for Mr. Pat Ahumada to replace me at Southmost Regional Water.
Motion made by Mr. Valadez to appoint Mr. Amada,
A second.
second by Mr. Guerra. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimous. Congratulations, Pat.
I'll let you know after the first meeting.
Item number 10, consideration and approval for general manager to sign a contract with Texas Department of Transportation, TxDOT, to relocate electrical facilities along FM 511 from US 77 to Paredes Line Road. Mr. James McCann.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, TxDOT is widening FM 511 from the expressway to Highway 48. PUB has electrical facilities along this route that will be in conflict with the proposed project and therefore need to be relocated. TxDOT has requested that PUB relocate the facilities by August 2007 for Phase 1, which is the expressway to Paredes. Engineering studies indicate the cost of the project will be $78,000 to remove the lines, the old lines, $189,000 to construct the new lines. We're hoping to negotiate a contract with TxDOT where they'll reimburse us about $91,000, leaving a net cost of $175,000 for PUB.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Pat Amada, seconded by Mr. Guerra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 11, consideration and approval of an emergency purchase of EO 915-00 cable stock. Mr. James McCann.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Based on an analysis of current future projects, PUB's current inventory of that 0915 cable, it was determined that there would be a shortage prior to our normal delivery schedule due to the large number of projects. This shortage would result in delays to these new projects and the lack of cable available for emergency repairs. As a result, the general manager declared an emergency, allowing purchasing to order the needed cable in the below amounts, totaling $122,085.27.
Also move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Mr. Valadez,
Second.
second by Mr. Guerra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Just to reject the bid, isn't it? I'm sorry.
Item number 12, consideration and approval to reject bids for the rehabilitation of thickener number 2 located at North Wastewater Treatment Plant. Mrs. G.G. Gomez.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thickener number 2 receives sludge from the aeration basin and removes the excess water, which results in a thicker sludge. This thickener was originally installed in 1979 and has deteriorated, and all the original components need to be replaced. Invitation to bid were advertised in the Brownsville Herald on June 18th and 25th of 2006, and were faxed to 15 companies, and only one bidder responded, Graystar. And the base bid was for $164,000 and alternate bid for $187,900. The PUB Engineering Department estimate was $119,832 for the base bid and $134,925 for the alternate bid. It is recommended that both bids be rejected. The bids received were too high, and an alternate bid included material that did not meet material thickness requirements. The Brownsville PUB staff recommends rejecting the bids for the rehabilitation of thickener number 2 at the North Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Ms. Gomez?
Yes.
If we're going to reject it, are you going to rebid it out?
Well, we're going to rebid it, and the shop fabrication of the thickener using all stainless steel components, and the installation would be performed by either PUB crew or local contractor.
Does a PUB crew or a local contractor have the capabilities or the experience to do this?
Yes.
How much are you anticipating the bid for the materials would range?
I don't have that
Don't have an engineer's
information. No. Well, we have on the estimate here, $17,415.
On the first one?
Excuse me?
On the first 119?
If you go to page 2, on the bottom, the thickener material.
Oh, the 23.
Yeah. We have all the material there.
What we do is take the components out, get them refurbished, take the basin out of service so it's safe, and then go in and general construction work.
And we've never done this work since '79?
No, I don't believe so.
Thickener number 1 was done before, yes, and bulge machine was, in 2002, went ahead and installed it for us. So we do have contractors that can do the job.
I would move that we approve the rejection of the bid.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Villarreal, seconded by Mr. Guerra. All those in favor to reject the bids?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes to reject the bids. Item number 13, consideration and approval of proposal for water supervisory control and data acquisition, SCADA, upgrades for the water and wastewater facilities. Ms. Gomez.
On October 14, 2002, the Brownsville PUB Board of Directors approved the implementation of Phase 1 of the proposed SCADA system. It was an upgrade for the water and wastewater facilities. Phase 2 of the project includes the upgrades of an obsolete SCADA system where technical support and replacement parts are limited. And the project will include the installation of the SCADA system that will allow Brownsville PUB to do the upgrade of control systems at the 3 water plants, monitor the 3 elevated towers and 9 field sites of the distribution system throughout the city, monitor and control the 2 river pumps, monitor and control more equipment at the 2 wastewater plants, and we will add 7 lift stations, and upgrade wireless communications and backup servers for data storage. And also, the employees will participate in water and wastewater SCADA system training. On October 17 and 24th of 2006, requests for proposals were advertised and were mailed out to 13 companies. 4 companies responded and submitted proposals for the project. An evaluation of the submitted proposals was conducted by Brownsville PUB staff members, and the companies were rated based on several categories. And you have the attached evaluation form. Most advantageous and qualified company was determined to be system controls and instrumentation based on all the overall ratings. PUB staff recommends accepting the proposal submitted by System Controls and Instrumentation of Converse, Texas for the water and wastewater SCADA system upgrades for an amount not to exceed of $950,650.
Also move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Valadez.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Guerra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman,
The
Yes, sir.
motion he made is to accept the lowest and best bid for the district, because it's not necessarily the lowest bid, but it is the lowest and best bid based on all of the qualifications necessary. So, is that your motion, sir?
most advantageous.
Yeah.
That was it. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to see if we could revisit item number 5.
Yes, sir.
I know we voted on it and everything, but I wanted to, if we could reopen it for some discussion.
Yes, let's reopen item number 5 for discussion, consideration, and approval.
Who voted in favor? If you voted in favor, you can make a motion to reconsider the item.
Okay, you got a motion, I'll second it.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Valadez, seconded by Mr. Ahumada to revisit item number 5, which is consideration and approval of a recommendation to the City Commission to amend ordinance number 2005-983-Z, which modifies the current water and wastewater rate structure. Mr. Garcia.
Yes, we had a presentation we were going to do, if I can do it at this time.
Is that why you got me
Well,
to second it?
Slides, or do you have questions?
Well, I just have a question. You know, this is, the recommendation was to, the Brownsville PUB staff to recommend approval resolution recommendation to City Commission to amend ordinance number 2005-983-Z, which modifies the current water and wastewater rate structure. And what this is doing is giving a break of a water and wastewater break to residents that it's like an incentive for them to save water. The lower you use, you get an incentive, and then if you use more, well, they tack on, some more. But what it says here, it says for the water utility, the BPUB proposes an 8% rate reduction for inside city residential water usage billed from 0 to 9,000 gallons consumption blocks, and 10% rate increase for all residential consumption over 9,000 gallons. All non-residential consumption would receive a 7% rate increase. So my question is, all non-residential consumption that'd be commercial.
That's correct.
So all commercial accounts would incur a 7% rate increase.
That's correct.
Is that on the water and on the wastewater?
On the wastewater, we don't make any change to the commercial. The only change we make on the wastewater, well, two changes. We're going to go with 2 different tiers, 0 to 7,000 and over 7,000, as opposed to 0 to 20,000 and over 20,000. We're providing relief to those 0 to 7,000 by adjusting it by 8%, down from 340 to 313 per thousand gallons. We're also removing the cap on that we have, 25,000 cap for wastewater. In other words, we're going to bill for whatever wastewater, is driven by the water consumption. This is what allowed us to go with an 8% as opposed to 5% rollback that we initially had intended. So this does provide relief to the under 7,000.
I see what you're trying to do. You want to give some relief to the, and I imagine this is because of the city commission. Some city commissioners wanted, to roll back rates.
We had a meeting with this board on some options, and then we went to the commission, and kind of directive before the first of the year was to come back with a recommendation from this board on helping the lower class rate payers.
I understand.
We visited the makeup of the customer base, how many customers are in the 0 to 7,000. It'll impact approximately 57% of our customer base, or 21,529. So taking into consideration, the biggest impact.
And I understand you're making an impact on 57% of the residential customers, but you're also affecting 100% of all the commercial accounts.
I privately asked if the chamber was aware of this, and I was assured that people didn't have problems with this, right?
The impact.
But see, and one of my reasons was because when we had the impact fee vote, when the impact fee vote was rescinded, one of the main reasons that they gave was because it was not to hurt small businesses. And here you are adding 7% to businesses. We're giving them a recommendation to tack it on to all businesses, 7%. When the major complaint of rescinding that vote was to give the not to hurt small businesses.
We can look at the actual bill impact. We have a schedule here that provides the before and after on that 7%. And say, for example, on 24,000 wastewater, we're looking at an impact of about $11.71. And
well, whatever it would be. I mean, I know.
When we were discussing this at the joint meeting with the city, there were several proposals you all came up with. One was to put all the new burden on the upper two tiers of residential and nothing on commercial.
For water, yes.
For water. Then one of the other proposals was to put all the impact on commercial and nothing on residential. And this came up that we splitting the additional burden between the upper two tiers, people who supposedly can afford it better than the lower two tiers,
Or who are using it.
And who are using it, and splitting that burden between those two upper tiers and the commercial.
That's
Instead
correct.
of putting one burden on just one class.
So 10% for the third and fourth tier, and 7% for the commercial. That's correct. To make up, to keep it at revenue.
At one time you were talking like 20%, for the residential, or 12% for commercial or something like that, So this was,
Based on the feedback we received, that's why we're coming up with this balanced recommendation.
Who was there at these meetings? Was the business community involved, or did you have any participation from them? Did we advise them of this meetings? I mean, I know it passed today, but it got by.
It was a workshop with the joint workshop with the city commission during a regular city commission meeting, right before their meeting. Yeah.
The chamber?
Yeah, I think you two were the only ones present. I and the mayor.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know that Mr. Kevin Alford from the Chamber of Commerce called me, and we spent hours going over the impact fees because how it was going to hurt the business community. And I think I'd like to go ahead and see if we can get a hold of them, because I don't think the business community has been made aware of this, and they're just going to feel it in their next bill. But, I'd leave that to the discretion
Council,
of the rest of the board.
could we re-vote on this, or would we have to?
Let me make a comment. One thing is, Mr. Chairman, is this would be a recommendation to the city. then the city would have to have 2 public hearings on it and then vote on it. We're just making a recommendation. We're not approving this thing. I mean, it's, the commission has to approve it. We can't.
Well, I'd like to see if we could vote on it again, Mr. Chairman, because that would change my vote. It might not change
I'd
that.
like to clarify, part of the data we did provide to the commission and here to the board, showed the metrics, the statistics of where commercial customers, were in residential in terms of usage. And taking that into consideration, the 7% was we're looking at it as not being a big impact on the commercial user. So we do have the statistics and the makeup of the customer base and how they use and how they'll be impacted.
The reason we brought this was to have it back to the commission for next month.
I would go ahead and allow...
You have to have somebody that voted in favor of the motion.
I voted.
Make the motion to reconsider.
I'll make a motion to reconsider
the vote.
The vote, Mr. Chairman.
Then it's got to be seconded by somebody that voted in favor of it to reconsider.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to reconsider this particular item? I would like to second it, to reconsider it. So, motion is made by Mr. Valadez, seconded by myself.
Okay, then you give up your chair to the vice chair, let him run the meeting.
Give you again?
There you go.
All right, there's been a motion made and seconded.
We have a motion and a second to reconsider. All in favor to reconsider?
Aye.
All against? Aye. The consideration goes to the city commission and they'll debate it there and the chamber will come. And
Your point is well taken, Mr. Valadez, and I'll make sure that that the commission's made aware of it.
All right, that's all I wanted. I just wanted to make the...
Yes.
All righty.
Also...
Okay, now, anything else, Mr. Valadez?
Agenda item number, consent agenda item number 3.
Number 3. Update on capital improvement projects and funding.
No,
I'm sorry.
consent agenda.
Oh, consent agenda, I'm sorry. My apologies.
next page.
Veterans Day.
Consent agenda item number 3. We're in the consent agenda items. Consideration and approval to purchase computer equipment from Dell Computer Corporation. Mr. Campirano.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, during the preparation of the budget, the Information Services Department reviews the inventory of computers that need to be and evaluates the need to replace old computers and/or computers that are not worth repairing. These computers are typically at the end of their useful life and/or computers that no longer allow the user to effectively and efficiently perform their job duties. The computers that are being recommended for replacement are computers that were purchased in 1999, 2000, and 2001. Under the current fiscal year, we have purchased 7 laptop computers. That was part of the CIS upgrade and were necessary for training purposes. The Information Services Department is recommending the purchase of the balance of the computers necessary for replacement. We are proposing to purchase 6 laptops and 49 personal computers. The list price for the computer purchase shall not exceed $123,705.41. PUB expects to achieve better pricing for the purchase of the computers from Dell Corporation via participation in the state purchasing program. There's a breakdown of the computers in your backup, and you can also see where they're being distributed. So they're really going to all of the departments, whether they're departments in the field, whether they're departments outside of this office. It's just a basic tool nowadays to give the employees the tools necessary to do their jobs. And again, these are computers that are no longer capable of functioning to their capacity, or they're not worth repairing anymore.
Okay, Eddie, the last time I think Eddie Hernandez was here, he told me it was a want, not a need, and it might be a need now, a year later. But
Well,
maybe it'd be a good idea to have a little committee from this board to evaluate that. I don't know. y'all want to do
One
that.
is, that was almost 3 years ago, and the first time we came before this
I
board.
haven't been on the board for years.
These particular computers are not a want. I mean, these are basic tools the employees need to get their jobs
Eddie,
done.
I think you mistook what I said. I said the last time Eddie Hernandez was here, he said it was a want, not a need. I mean, I'm not putting words in his mouth. That's what he said. I mean, I don't remember that. So, maybe it'd be a good idea just to make sure that it's not money being spent because we have it.
What type of PCs are they? I know they're Dell, but which ones are they?
They're basic desktop models. It's a keyboard, the hard drive, and the screen.
Well, nowadays, 2,100 for a desktop.
That's a lot of money.
That's a pricey desktop.
Well,
That may be that you need
again,
that because of the requirements, and
we expect to achieve a better pricing on that by going through the state contract. But this is, and the other thing I want to say is that before this all goes into effect, internally, there is a committee of employees, the users, whether it's the managers, whatever, and they get together and also screen all the requests, because we do get some requests that are not considered. And so consequently, this was what's in the capital improvement program. We did not proceed in October. Again, we're at the point now where being recommended we go ahead and proceed with the replacement of these older models.
Eddie, I saw on the list of the people, I saw at least 3 of them that are vacant. Where do those computers go to?
Again, when somebody fills that position, they're going to need a computer. The last thing we want is someone coming to work on the first day of work and sitting around waiting for their computer to come. We will fill those we will acquire those as we fill those positions. But at least we will have identified which ones they are and they're ready to go.
I think there's a letter here at the back, you're talking about employing 2 new people, and they needed desktops.
Well,
These were in the budget. It was approved in October. There's not something additional.
I thought I received something in the mail that Dell Dimension 410 was like $500 each.
yeah, that's why I'm asking.
I think, again, because it is internal what you're doing as far as, if I work for PUB, well, I want a Cadillac, I want this, and I want that, if the budget's there. And I'm not saying that you don't need it. You may very well need it. I'm not saying you don't need it. But I think it'd be a good idea, since this keeps coming back over here, maybe 1 or 2 people from the board to just to evaluate. I don't know.
And the only reason I brought it up was because, Eddie, the question I want
That's
to
what
ask.
y'all want, not.
I remember it was last year or last budget period where the computers were being purchased under the, that there was some computer purchases under the $25,000 deal. Is that to replace those?
No, we have, for example, you may have a need for a particular unit, whether it's a new employee coming to work or someone that wasn't planned. I mean, we also have computers that break down during the year and we don't have planned for replacement. So we will purchase occasionally, but we have a program where we evaluate computers on an annual basis and determine which ones need to be replaced. This would be to replace those units. That doesn't mean that we may not have somebody's computer go out that may not be worth fixing, or we may not have damage to one, whether it's a laptop or it's a desktop that we may need to replace as the year goes on. But we do know and we have identified the workstations, the particular individuals who need to have their computers replaced.
It just seemed real quick to me to come back for some more computers, because I remember, Al, you made a suggestion, we'll contact the United Way to see if they can.
But they wouldn't
and
These
wouldn't take them
computers,
because
nobody
that
wants them.
was-
They're
The
not.
thing is, 99 to
and-
2001, that's a long time.
Well, I understand, but the reason was because we just
Computers
purchased some,
change.
and I just thought if we're purchasing these to replace
No,
the
they're,
ones that we had just purchased.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're
All
talking.
right, that was my question.
I think we need to approve it, but I think Pat's point and what you're saying is that we're not sure on the price yet.
Maybe, yeah, I agree, because, I mean, memories fresh from Christmas, I remember spending a lot less than $2,000 on a brand-new computer that was in 1999. It was more like $750. I agree, I think we need to improve it. I work on a computer more than I would like to, and I know how frustrating it could be when something doesn't work and there's conflict with software, it's very inefficient, you don't get the most out of your employees. I just like a report back to see what the final purchase price was.
just to see what it was up to the limit.
At 55 computers for the 123, it comes out to $22.50 per computer. That is high.
That is, but I think that, if you go to the state program and you report back to
They
us.
should bring it back to us, go for bids and then bring it to us and tell
Well,
us.
we wouldn't go for bids to the state program. We'd simply go, because they've already negotiated the lowest possible price.
Okay, but go get the price.
What we
and bring it
did
to
is
us.
we got the list price and saying, look, we know it's not going to cost more than this.
I think as long as you go through the state program, you are going to get the lowest price. So,
Of anybody from information
I would
services is here.
I would approve it based on going through the state program and not outside of the state.
That is our intent, is to go ahead and go and use the state purchasing program to acquire these.
Well, make a recommendation that we approve it, subject to them going through the state program.
I make that motion. I'd like to make that motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve it.
Okay, well, you need to take it out of the consent agenda, because you're going to handle it different.
Didn't you motion for it to go out of the consent?
We're looking at consent agenda item 2.
Yeah, he has to pull the item.
You want to pull the item? Make the motion.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to pull the item number 2 and approve it as, with the condition it goes through the state.
Item 3.
Item number 3.
Item number 3, I'm sorry.
Motion made by Mr. Valadez to pull out item number 3
And with the condition, and approve it on the condition it goes through the state.
and approve it on the condition that it goes through the state program.
I second it.
And the motion is seconded by Mr. Villarreal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Nay.
And 1 nay by Mr. Amada. Motion passes.
And also make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve consent item agendas remaining.
No, wait a second, before we do that, I'd like to just pull out item number 2.
Okay. Well, then we'll pull out item number 2, and there's a motion by Mr. Valadez to pass the rest of the consent.
Well,
Wait,
I'll
hold
withdraw
on.
my motion. He needs to.
Yeah, because I have something too.
Okay, then where do you,
Do we have a second to pull it out?
Second.
Okay.
second?
Okay,
Okay.
the only thing, I'm not really concerned about this, but everybody closes for Martin Luther King Day. We didn't. The banks were closed, the courts were closed. Why can't we be part of that too? I mean, for the employees. I don't mind giving that to the employees.
Is the city and the county?
City was not.
The city was not,
The city
schools were
was not,
not.
the county was.
The county, the
It
state,
also
and the
depends on
federal
how
offices
many
do
days.
observe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Maybe we could have a skeleton crew or something like that. There's no need to have everybody here.
we always have, remember, whenever we have a holiday, we always have to have people available to work. I mean, we're at 24/7. What we wouldn't have would be, for example, folks in the administrative offices and some of those support functions. But
Before they hate me for the computers, maybe they'll like me to make Martin Luther King Day.
Well,
we would certainly encourage, I'm sure I can speak for the staff, that we would
They
encourage
hate you anyway,
favorable
Pat.
consideration from the board, if you
I
so
mean,
wish
it's just
to
something
add.
for y'all, because I mean, almost everybody closes.
Make the motion.
I'll make the motion to include Martin
To
Luther.
include?
Make it- Your motion is to include Martin Luther King as an additional holiday.
With the veterans.
and veterans.
Additional
As
veterans.
as
I'll
well as
second that.
veterans.
Motion made by Mr. Amada, seconded by Mr. Valadez to include the Martin Luther King holiday with the Veterans
How many do we have?
holiday
That was-
here at the
that's the
PUD.
How many do we
PUD.
have?
We have less over there.
We have less than the city and far less than the county.
2 motions, all those in favor?
Very
Aye,
special.
motion passes.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted on item 1 of the consent agenda, there's 2 minutes, and since I was not present on the second on the special meeting, just that whatever vote, I'm abstaining from voting on that, since I can't say what happened there or not. Otherwise, I would make the motion to be approve the rest of the consent items.
I second that.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, so
You can't make it.
Do you amend his motion to include the item in which he was not present that he will not vote on?
Yes, I do.
Second.
okay, and that's a motion by Mr. Valadez, seconded by Mr. Villarreal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
That a boy.